How to open and close the front Optronic. What about this screen? Can you catch an ILS? How to display your flight plan? Well, that's what we are going to see in this video and much more. I will put chapters in the video so you can jump on what you are looking for, and everything will be subtitled as always. Hello simmers, I hope you're doing great, and let's start right away for a tour of the cockpit where we are going to explain everything from left to right and top to bottom. So here we have the HUD dimming knob, then we have the screen dimming knobs here. We have the ground warning, the autopilot indicator and the AOA indicator for the model M and the Prio for the model C. We have here some other indicators for the spoiler, the taxi and the landing lights. Here that's the heading knob that will be very useful for the autopilot. We will see that later in the video. And here you can choose the autopilot. Info is not implemented and weapon page. On the weapon page, you can select your loadout and it will be only the tanks and the Damocles pod on Xbox. But here on PC, you can select various configurations via the sim or real menu, or you can select each weapon one by one. Alright, back to our left panel with here a very important piece of the aircraft, the main electricity knob. It will start the aircraft and the engines. We have the APU button, an electrical reset button, the hook toggle button, the landing gear handle and gear light indicator. Here it's the G limiter and you have the refuel switch. If we go down, we have the massive power management lever of the Rafale. On it, you will find the button to toggle taxi and landing lights, but also the button to toggle the spoilers on and off. Just under, you have the engine's management levers for the left and the right engine, and we will look at this closer when we will do the startup procedure. Here we will find everything about the light management, strobe lights, nav lights, formation lights, cockpit lightning mode switch, instruments, a dimming knob, cockpit dimming knob, but also the radio nav volume knobs, radio nav 1 and 2, the intercom volume knob, and most importantly the pitch trim knob, aileron trim knob, and rudder trim knob, and also the button to reset all the trimming. And we are almost done with the left side of the cockpit. We just need to look at this little box where we will find the low pressure X-feed switch, the feeder X-feed switch, the fuel dump toggle button, the external tanks transfer override, the emergency hook toggle switch, the main battery mode switch, alternator left circuit breaker, the current transformer, the alternator right circuit breaker, the ignition left circuit breaker, the APU circuit breaker, and the ignition right circuit breaker. And we can now move to the right panels. So here in this first section we have the barometric pressure knob, the barometric press switch to standard, the yoke hider button, the right screen dimming knobs, the CRS knob, the engine IPU warning lights, the warning panel lights, the windshield de-ice toggle button, the low fuel warning panel, the launch bar switch for the M model, obviously. And here we have the right main MFD menus with the HSI, the fuel, the situation awareness that is not implemented, the electromagnetic countermeasures, which are also not implemented. If we go on the back of the right side of the cockpit, we can see here the canopy toggle button, the parking brake handle, the fly-by-wire integrity checker, an auxiliary panel with the pilot heat, the engine anti-ice, the dump, and the air bleed. On this lever, you can also toggle the nose wheel steering to low or high. And we are done off with the cockpit. We just need to see all the different screens. Alright, on this little touch screen here, you will access a different menu. So the first one, UPD, is the default one, and it's just for immersion with all the kind of radar that the Rafale can have, but it doesn't work here. So on this panel, you will be able to change the nav and com frequencies and also the ADF and TACAN. So on this IFF panel, you will be able to enter your transponder and squawk and also manage the FSO, the front optronic, and open it or close it. Then we have the air-to-air and air-to-surface menu, but that's not implemented. We have also the electronic countermeasures. You can click on them. It will just change the color, but it will not do anything in the game right now. Let's hope for Microsoft 2024. Then we have the approach button on the bottom left and the flight plan management. We will see that when we will talk about this. All right, if we go now on the second page, we can see we have the BD option, does not do anything. We have next the flight manager, and that's very important. From this menu, you can basically enter a complete flight plan with departure, arrival, approach, anything, and it's very useful. Then we have the navigation menu. You can just align the aircraft with the GPS coordinates, but that's all. DAS, I think it's deep display arrangement screen, maybe. And you can, with this menu, you can actually completely change the positions of the displays, even on the MFD, on the central screen. That's quite cool. Position is just for immersion, and PRP is not implemented. It does nothing. And we are done with all those menus here. And now we can have a look at the right menus, and there is a bit less, so it's going to be quicker. We have here the HSI, everybody knows it. We have the situational awareness. It's like a repetition of the main MFD. And we have also the fuel with after we have in the fuel menu several other displays with the hydraulics, with the engines, the flight surfaces, and yeah, that's quite immersive to have all those screens. All right, the startup procedure. You are going to see it's very easy in the Rafale. You can literally take off in just a couple of minutes, just the time the APU and the engine starts. First, we need to check the circuit breakers on the left rear panel. So ACG 1 and 2 must be on, the battery off, but with the state auto, left engine and right engine ignition switch set to auto, as well as the APU switch. And we can close the box, and now we can start the aircraft. So we are going to put the engine switch to idle. And by turning the electricity knob, we can power the aircraft. And then we just need to press on the APU button and wait for the red light to go out. Once the red light of the APU is off, we can turn the electricity knob to the right engine position, like this. And if you check on the screen here, you can see here that the engine is going to start. So when the engine is starting, you have a red flashing light on the lever. Once the red flashing light is off, it means the engine is ready and you can push the lever to the normal position. Like this. Okay, now it's time. No, it's the other way. Now it's time to do the left engine. So we have the red flashing light. Yeah, it's almost good. Perfect. We can put the lever in the normal position as well as the electricity knob in the middle position. And here we are. We have a Rafale ready for takeoff. Just in case you have spent too much time with the standby battery position on, you can have a cut of power and then you need to press the AC reset button. We have now reached the final part of the tutorial and is for the use of the Autopilot and the ILS. So let me change the weather. It will be better with... Oh, and here I have the taxi light on and I want the landing light here. Okay, thanks for the indicator. So we need to go in our flight plan. And we are going to set the origin. We can enter the name of our airport if you want. But here I'm just going to take the GPS position and enter my position. Then we need to select our destination. For the purpose of the video, I'm just going to take the same airport. So it's going to be a bit quicker to show you. And if we go to the flight manager where we can do our flight plans, I'm just going to select the ILS 10, load it, activate the approach and set the ILS frequency. So here I'm going to change the configuration of the screen and I'm going to put my flight plane on the right screen. So here I will be able to manage my autopilot. So the autopilot uses three main sections. And I've just set the altitude to 7,000 feet because we can see on the right screen of the Rafale in the flight plan, that's 7,000 feet is the highest altitude. So I'm just going to go to this altitude. Here, don't forget before takeoff to put your nose steering wheel to a low and we are ready to take off. (140), rotate, gear up. I'm just gonna turn right here. And if I go now to here, by clicking on one of the section, on one of the zone here, it's going to engage the autopilot. As you can see also on the bottom left screen. So here I have activated the altitude that I have selected, 7,000 feet. So now the aircraft is going to climb at 7,000 feet. I have engaged the flight plan here by pressing here. And I have engaged the management of the speed by pressing here. So when you press once on this zone here, it's going to hold the speed of the aircraft when you pressed on the screen. But if you want to use your selected speed, you need to then press on the small arrow on the top, and then the V is going to be in green. So it means that the aircraft is going to adapt to the speed you enter. Here on the main screen, if you press the MIS button option, you can see that you will have the altitude of your waypoints displayed on the map. TAC is to use the different camera of the Rafale. Here I'm not using them. And we are just going to follow the flight plan. So here I'm reducing the speed of the aircraft. And here I'm reducing the altitude. And immediately the Rafale is following the inputs. So the altitude of our next waypoint is 5,900 feet. And the plane will adapt to the altitude we entered. So I'm just setting the correct barometric pressure of this airport for the landing. So if you pay attention on the altitude management, here Alt cell is selected, but it will be unselected when the plane will catch the glide slope. That's a bit of a rough turn here. And if you see here, the approach mode has been activated on the HUD, and Alt cell is unselected, and now the altitude is managed directly with the glide slope. And now we are basically like in an airliner. We just wait for the aircraft to land. So it's almost an auto land because the autopilot is going to disconnect just a few feet from the ground. But don't forget to unselect the autopilot speed because it will keep pushing the aircraft on the runway if you don't stop it. I'm reducing the speed. And when we will reach 200 knots, I'm going to use the canards to bring more stability to the plane for the landing. And when we will reach 200 knots, I will use the canards, the air brakes, to add a bit more of stability to the aircraft. Landing gear down. And spoilers and air brakes on. (160 knots), and we are going to slow down as low as 120 knots. It looks like a bird flying, right? Hello, you. All right. (130), 120. So the aircraft is going to reach the perfect angle of attack. And here you can see in the indicator that we have the true green. It's like for it's the light system used for the landing on aircraft carriers. Because I'm flying with the M version, as you will spot the watch on our left of the cockpit. That's the easiest way to recognize a model C and a model M. The M has a watch inside the cockpit. Right, 300 feet. There's a bit of wind. 200 feet, autopilot disconnects, and it's going to glide gently. I'm not perfectly center, but it doesn't matter. Oh, there's, yeah, a bit of wind here, but going to correct. And yes, perfect. We are outside of the runway, but you have seen how works the ILS and the autopilot. And that's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope it was useful, and see you soon on the channel. Bye bye.